Mozambique local volunteers distribute living necessities to affected regions of torrential rain. Tzu Chi Indonesia Chapter assists a boy to undergo a surgery and regain his confidence. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Maggie Tsai. Thank you for joining us. Central Mozambique suffered from continuous rain in mid-February of this year, which led to flooding in 6 regions, with the most severe being Nhamatanda. Many people's homes were destroyed, and to help, local Tzu Chi volunteers began to distribute aid items after the flood receded. In 3 days, they gave out items to 1,031 households, helping them begin the path to recovery.
The muddy debris is what remains after the flood. The nightmare of the event is still very vivid in this survivor's mind.
It took less than an hour for the flood to reach us. When I discovered the flooding, it was already waist high. I quickly grabbed my children and ran.
The continuous rain in mid-February caused much devastation in Nhamatanda. But as keeping to their positive attitude, the survivors don't blame other people.
Natural disasters are really caused by man. We contribute to the natural disaster, don't you agree?
Local Tzu Chi volunteers sent 8 items to help, including rice, thick rope, nails, spoons, and mosquito nets. Each aid pack is 45 kilograms, and as many places are still flooded, trucks and boats help transport the items. Their lyrics represent hope for the future, and despite it, after the rain, they still have the rest of their days to look forward to.
Tzu Chi Eye Center in the Philippines hosted a free eye clinic for 91 seniors and little sisters of the elderly in San Juan City. Volunteers also provided eye prescription service for the staff in the elderly home.
71-year-old Lopez, with the help of volunteers, was sitting in front of an optometry instrument. Her left eye has lost vision for many years. This was the first time for her to examine the cause.
I can only see with one eye. The doctor told me that my left eye was blind because of glaucoma.
This is a free eye clinic organized by the Tzu Chi Eye Center in the Philippines at Little Sisters of the Elderly in San Juan City. The Gatsby just moved in for less than 2 months. She didn't expect to be able to enjoy such medical service.
Your service is very comprehensive, which is good for me.
We are very grateful to this group, Tzu Chi Foundation, for helping us with check-up for the eyes of the Lolas. Many of them who come from the street have this kind of problem, and it's expensive for us to bring them to the doctor.
The day of free clinic is a public holiday of the Philippines. Medical staff and volunteers still came to serve. They did not only serve the seniors, but also provide eye prescription service for the staff in the elderly home.
I didn't know that my eyes are really affected. No, I cannot see well. But when they wear for me the glass, everything was very clear and very nice. And then I really surprised, and I was so happy.
Restoring the vision makes the seniors no longer see things blurred, but bright and beautiful.
When Storm Dennis landed in Britain, it caused a lot of flooding in several places. Tzu Chi volunteers went to central Britain to evaluate conditions. Some cities do not have any flood walls, so floods submerged many areas, causing much damage. Some cities have flood walls, but because the water level has not descended, local government and residents are still cautious.
The rain has stopped, but the flood level is still quite high and is flowing fast. People of elderly are still on the lookout.
Without this flood wall, water would spread out in all directions, and the residential area to my right-hand side would be 1 meter underwater.
Houses and stores in low-lying areas are packing sandbags to protect themselves.
It was around my waist, and now it is a little taller than me, so this is quite scary. You can see the floods are leaking at the ground level, so walls are under much pressure. Walls have been much helpful.
Parts of Worcester are underwater, so people must walk around floods.
This area doesn't have a flood wall, so floods submerge the area all the way down to the cricket club, where flood level is around 2 meters deep. Parts in the park have become recreational area for swans.
Storm Dennis made a landfall in central Britain and caused damage to areas along River Severn and River Thames. Volunteers went to Tambury Wells to understand what kind of assistance the government is giving.
Support funding, There's an online registration form, same criteria they have to meet, so we can help them with things like council tax.
Britain Tzu Chi volunteers will hold meetings to discuss their findings and give needed help to the survivors.
A 9-year-old Indonesian boy called Angga had a cleft lip and palate when he was born, which worried his parents whose financial status was not good. He was once ridiculed and isolated by his friends of the same age. Fortunately, Tzu Chi Indonesia Chapter aided him in performing a surgery in 2017. He is now confident and happy to go to school every day.
Putting on a school uniform and going to school is Angga's routine daily life. What his father worried before he went to elementary school was already settled.
When he was born, we were very surprised to see his cleft lip and palate. Because our financial status was not good, it is expensive to cure these defects. We have to wait for assistance from kind people. Fortunately, Tzu Chi Foundation came to us.
In 2017, Tzu Chi Indonesia Chapter assists Angga in receiving a cleft lip and palate surgery.
I'm really pleased to know he has recovered. In the past, he was unable to speak and pronounce words clearly, but now he has improved a lot.
He is passionate and polite to his friends. Because he likes to play soccer, his teacher always nominates him to participate in soccer matches. You can say he is good at playing the game.
Ya bisa dibilang itu Angga jago main bola.
With gratitude in his heart, 9-year-old Angga has courage and confidence to study hard.
In order to prevent the epidemic, the Huagang Epidemic Prevention Command in Hubei asked Tzu Chi Foundation for some assistance with blankets and Jingsi folding beds. A total of 4,200 blankets were sent from Kunshan, Jiangsu for the use of all hospitals in Hubei.
In a day of early spring with showering, a large truck slowly entered the warehouse of Qiji Jinyagran, Kunshan, Jiangsu Province.
The Tzu Chi Foundation has received an urgent request for blankets from Huanggang Command. As we have a lot of disaster relief blankets in our warehouse in Kunshan, today we will deliver them urgently to Huanggang.
To prevent the boxes of blankets from getting wet, Tzu Chi volunteers first put up a canopy atop the truck's rear bed to block out the rain. Then they cleared the water from the truck bed and finally moved the boxes of blankets from the warehouse to the truck.
Everyone here does well in preventing measures, like wearing gloves and masks as well as disinfection, so I'm not worried. I hope that all people in the country will be fine. I would also like to thank medical staff, police, and other frontline workers. I wish everyone is safe.
I want to thank all Tzu Chi brothers for their cooperation so that we are able to send out our blankets immediately. Thank you.
Finally, a total of 4,200 blankets in 57 boxes were delivered by the truck, providing an on-time assistance to Hebei Epidemic Prevention Command.
Since mid-February, Tzu Chi volunteers in Hubei province, China have been giving Tzu Chi's Jingsi folding bags to help people who need them. Tzu Chi volunteers Huang Lu work at the customs, so she helped with the administration and also found Huarong Shipping Company to help them.
Over 2,000 Jingsi folding bags are waiting to be delivered to Huanggang, Hubei province. 4 big trucks are required to transport them, so it is not easy to find anyone to do it while the epidemic is spreading.
The most difficult part is that roads from Xiamen to Huanggang are being closed off, so not many delivery companies are able to do the work.
Tzu Chi volunteer Huang Lu works in the shipping company, so she helps take care of all procedures and also finds Huarong Shipping Company to help, which sends 4 drivers to deliver the bags free of charge.
We will do our best to deliver these goods because they are given by a charity group, so we must be serious about it.
The trip from Xiamen to Hubei is over 1,000 kilometers, but the epidemic has closed off many roads, so they must take detours. The fleet captain has done a lot of research and is confident that they will arrive in 2 days. Meng Fanbin, one of the drivers, is from Hubei province, so he feels he has to do it.
I must go no matter what. It's not for any purpose. I just want to give a share of my little strength.
Here are our reusable bowl and also chopsticks. Here are apples and oranges, and we also have dates, all for wishing you the best.
Knowing the danger in this trip, Tzu Chi volunteers give them 3 lunch bags of food, antiseptic goods, and a thermal bottle with hot water that has warmed the driver's heart.
Here is a Jingsi aphorism: giving is the largest reward. Tzu Chi Foundation is very grateful to you all.
After tying the slogan cloth, the volunteers bid farewell to these drivers. They believe blessing will accompany them all the way.
Shenzhen Tzu Chi volunteers turned Chinese herb into fragrant bags and gave them to neighbors and frontline medical people to help them ease their minds. The volunteers are all quarantined at home, but they still use the internet for an online study group to stay connected.
Located at different places, volunteers use the internet to log on to a study group at a time.
There are 211 people online today. The highest I've seen before this was 190 people, so today's study group is very successful.
People must not panic or be agitated when they are quarantined. Tzu Chi volunteers work with a Chinese medicine company by making tame herbs into fragrant bags. The volunteers work through the night so they can give the bags to people in the community and hospital.
Medical staff protect us with their lives, so what we are doing is nothing.
When I saw patients become panicked, angry, and unhappy because of the news about the epidemic, my heart ached. So I want to appeal to everyone to protect life and respect nature. We should also say good words, use lesser plastics, and be vegetarian.
We should use action to support vegetarianism, and we can begin with making delicious vegetarian meals at home.
To stop the spread of coronavirus, the Singaporean government orders that people returning from China must be quarantined at home for 14 days. They also ask a migrant workers' dormitory to take in workers who cannot return to their original dormitories. Furthermore, the government works with Tzu Chi to bring spiritual comfort to those who return to Singapore.
To lower the risk of COVID-19 from spreading in the community, The Singaporean government worked with a migrant worker dormitory to take in people who return from China, so they can be quarantined for 14 days.
We have a metal locker for them to put their things. We also have 14 beds, 3 bathrooms, and 3 toilets.
This meal dormitory can accommodate 400 people with complete basic equipment. People staying there will have 3 meals a day and will be well taken care of. But Mr. O hopes that those who come will also have their minds taken care of.
If they must stay here for 14 days, it is inevitable that they will become agitated. So we hope that we can have something spiritual that can make them feel this is a warm home.
Singapore Tzu Chi volunteers started a body and mind comforting plan for returnees to Singapore. They decorate the bedroom in a way that makes them look lovely.
You came and put these flowers and plants and books and also Jingsi aphorisms in the bedroom, so the Chinese who stay here will not feel lonely from leaving their hometowns.
The first stage is the first 5 days for them to settle down. The second 5-day period is to ease their minds. The third 5-day stage is to help them with their livelihoods. We hope to interact with them, and in the future, we can invite them to become those who can give help.
Tzu Chi volunteers will always care and bless those people from the day they arrive until the day they leave, easing their worried minds with sincerity.
Looking back to the 2003 SARS epidemic in May of that year, Tzu Chi promoted a May fasting month, encouraging people to go vegetarian and become pious during this trying time. Now that COVID-19 is spreading, people are feeling heartbroken and once need help while waiting for the epidemic to subside. The scientific community is also speeding up the development of new drugs and vaccines to combat this stubborn virus.
The new COVID-19 epidemic has impacted many different parts of the city. The number of people coming to the film street in Ximending, Taipei has seen a significant reduction. The public's willingness to watch movies has dramatically decreased, with many canceling morning and evening showings to reduce expenses. Movie theaters are a confined space, and business has been greatly affected by the epidemic. The industry posted regular disinfection announcements, and still few people are watching movies. Department stores and food streets also experienced a sharp drop in crowds, and the transportation industry was also affected. Airplanes were also carefully disinfected, and some countries even announced suspension of flights to China, showing that global airlines are strained while actively responding to the crisis. And countries are also actively seeking solutions. In early February, many countries announced they had identified the strains of the novel coronavirus.
The first strain we found was like that discovered by Europe and the United States and other countries. In other words, it seemed to be a widely spread virus strain. The second strain we saw was more similar to the virus strain that was isolated in Wuhan.
After the news was released, Taiwan became the 4th country in the world to successfully isolate the virus strain. This finding ignited hopes of a cure and quickly energized research units. Starting with the viral gene sequence means one could apply genetic recombination without cultivating virus samples.
The production of an inactive virus is actually very stringent in terms of safety. In this case, we will use the recombinant antigen method and finally evaluate which one of the antigens can become a subsequent vaccine. Then we need to collaborate with regulatory units, so there are many steps to do.
The world's top biotechnology medical units are racing against time to become pioneers. But how long does it take to discover a disease and get a vaccine? Research and development of vaccines for these diseases are still relatively short when compared to Japanese encephalitis and rotavirus, which have been around for a long time, though vaccine only arrived 20 years ago.
Clinical experiments can be started within 3 months. In terms of the fast-track system in the United States, they mentioned that the vaccine may be available in 3 years at the earliest. So developing a vaccine is really a long-term way to fight the epidemic.
Even if SARS and MERS were similar to this new virus, there is currently no vaccine available. Even if there is a huge breakthrough in the speed of vaccine development in China and the United States, there are still many difficulties for the vaccine to be officially launched. Faced with an invisible virus, everyone is afraid. Since ancient times, many lives have been ravaged by large and small plagues. In the area of underdeveloped science, people think of this as punishment from heaven. However, Buddhists believe
消弭呢这样的灾情，唯有持戒如数。
Starting with eating habits, one can make small changes leading to a big contribution to the world. In 2003, during the SARS epidemic, Spread Tzu Chi promoted May Fasting Month, which urged everyone to be vegetarian and pious, hoping to stabilize people's hearts through religious power. After 17 years, it is again calling for going meatless to protect lives, as Buddhists say that all sentient beings work together, and only by accumulating the power of goodness can we ultimately prevent disaster.
While the epidemic is spreading, people's love is also spreading. Tzu Chi Inland Liaison Office is making mask cases. A volunteer donated the machines from her previous garment factory, and a volunteer donated new fabric so they can make mask cases to help soothe the shortage of masks.
Since the early morning, the sounds of the sewing machine has never stopped at the Tzu Chi Inland Liaison Office. The fabric and the sewing machines were donated by Tzu Chi volunteers.
The sister-in-law of one of our sisters used to run a garment factory, so she willingly donated her 8 sewing machines to us. And some of our volunteers used to own textile factories, so they also donated their fabric to us, so we aren't short of textiles.
This place may be small, but there are many professionals among them. People working at every stage are skillful at certain things, but they also learn from each other.
From the basics of marking the points to sewing them, we can make mask cases to help some people.
We are thinking if you can invite the residents of this borough around here to come here, perhaps on Monday, and we can prepare 50 cases for them.
While the epidemic is spreading, people's love is also spreading too. Over 30 Tzu Chi volunteers completely produced 4,000 mask cases, so the surgical masks can be used repeatedly. Thus, they can be saved and reused at this critical time.
Due to the COVID-19 virus, Tzu Chi New Zealand Chapter volunteers deliver scholarships to students in Auckland personally. Take a look and see you next time.